All right. This one should be a quick one, folks, as I did a lot of predictions last Thursday. And today's Tuesday. Just wanted to get out my primetime picks, marquee matchups, just some of the segments that I do. This will be the second year, I believe. Yeah, I don't think we started doing these till last year, because last year was the first year that I did weekly NFL pods by myself. I don't know. If you guys have been around for a long time, you might remember the days of the good old BS, the big salad between me and Quinn. It's Quinn, if you're listening to this one, hope you're doing well. So I just saw Quinn a couple weeks back. We actually had dinner together. So Quinn and I still have the big salad. It's just unrecorded now. We still chatted up about sports and pop culture and really everything in between. But it's just now not on YouTube. But anyways, so episode 102 is going to be probably a short one. This is kind of like when you go to class in college and the professor's like, hey, just warn you guys, we're going to get out early for our next class. And then you just sit there like the whole time, like on the edge of your seat, like, okay, is this it? Is this about to be it? Is this about to be it? So please don't do that. If you don't want to listen and you want it to be done, you can pause. Like, you don't have to wait for me. I'm not in charge of you. I promise, Spotify will let you pause it, or YouTube, or Apple Podcasts, whatever you're listening on. It'll let you pause it. So just letting you know, you can end this whenever you want. I have no bearing. I just release my thoughts. You choose to intake. It's all about consent here on the Sort of Sports podcast. All right, let's get into the things I wanted to talk about today. So first thing, I did want to touch on some college football topics. This weekend was probably the most I've watched regular season college football in my life. I think I've talked about it before on the podcast. Not the biggest college football guy, just because I feel like there's about one game per week that's interesting. But this season is potentially going to be the one I'm most interested in. For the long time, I didn't have a college football team because even though I live in Ohio, I'm not a big Ohio State guy. For football and really the first, I always kept track of what was going on as soon as college football playoff became a thing. I always, would make an effort to understand why the teams that were in the college football playoff were in it. So I understood all that. And every year I watch Michigan versus Ohio State. That's like, I live in Ohio. I do every year. I made predictions on that game since middle school. I actually had friends get very legitimately angry with me in 2021 when I informed them Michigan was going to beat Ohio State, which I was right about, but I never really got the opportunity to gloat because they were very angry. And so it was, that actually was really funny. I remember going to my high school basketball game after that. So I was watching Michigan versus Ohio State in 2021, where Michigan beat them. And this is where I started being a CJ Stroud hater. I was like, this guy's not that good, which, of course, now I've completely flipped on because he proved me completely wrong, and now I'm like a massive supporter of him, along with everyone. People that loved him now love him more, and people that hated him are now like, wow, I was wrong. He's incredible. So I remember coming into my basketball game. We had a game that night. It was like a Saturday night. I don't know why we had a Saturday night basketball game, but we did. And I remember the coach yelling at us in the locker room because he was clearly upset about the game also. But he's like, we can't be focused on that. It has nothing to do with us. We need to be focused on our game. And it was really funny. So he was like, I don't want to hear anything about it. And we were all like, oh, okay. So then we got on the bus and immediately started talking about it in the back. And he was talking about it up front. It was just funny because everybody was frustrated. And then he was frustrated because nobody was focused on our game. And that team was, that basketball team, I think we won 2 or 3 games that year. So maybe he was on to something. Anyways, that 2019 was the first college football season I really heavily paid attention to because I really fell in love with Joe Burrow and that LSU team. And me and my grandpa would talk about them every week. Just thought it was such a fun team. I was super happy they won the national championship. Still stand by. It would have been way more fun if Ohio State would have played them. I think Ohio State would have gotten decimated by LSU. I've had people argue with me before and say that that's not true. That Ohio State team could beat. No. That LSU team's one of the greatest college football teams of all time. It's like a top 5 college football team ever. In my opinion, it's the best, but I've also only been alive for 20 years. So, Then last year, I finally had my own favorite college football team with the Colorado Buffaloes. So last year I paid a lot of attention. And then this year is probably the most I'm ever going to pay attention because between conference realignment, there's more interesting games every week. And having the video game makes it so I know, more guys and more teams. And the expanded college football playoff, which I'm willing to bet there's probably a lot of guys like me out there that due to the video game and the expanded playoffs and the realigned conferences, they're more intrigued with college football more than ever. So if you are also one of those people and you are listening to this, hello, fellow traveler. I don't really know where I was going with that. But I think college football's got a real chance here. And it's also, we're in a fun place right now where it feels like there's a bit of a changing of the guard. Saban's done. Dabo Swinney is being put on fraud watch. I mean, he probably is. I mean, is he just a fraud at this point? I don't know. Harbaugh's not, like, there's such a big shift in the coaching and what programs are going to do well and what programs are going to fall apart. It's going to be very intriguing to see who the big blue bloods of college football are in 5 years. And so I'm very excited. Wherever Deion is will be my favorite team. So if Deion leaves for the Florida Gators, I will be buying Florida Gators gear. But as long as he's at Colorado, those are my boys. What will I do once Deion retires? Who knows? I don't know. We'll find out. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. That'll be like episode 580 by that point. So, But let's talk about Colorado this last weekend. So we played North Dakota State, and I said on this podcast how concerned I was about the scheduling choice of this game. Just thought it was dangerous, thought it was a risk we didn't really need to take. We have everything to lose, they have nothing to lose game, never good. And we won. It was closer than it should have been, but we won. But the thing is with Colorado this year, it's the same story as last year, where I think we have I think right now, Travis Hunter is probably the best skill position in the country. Like, maybe just best player in the country on offense. Like, just period. I think defensively, it's probably that corner from Michigan, I would say, is the best defensive player in the country. But the best offensive player in the country, Travis Hunter. Like, I feel like it's undeniable. He's nuts. He's played incredible last weekend. And then we got a top 3 quarterback. Like, I think Shador is elite. There's no argument. And I think he's got a harder path than a Quinn Ewers because his O-line is nowhere near as good as a lot of these better schools' O-line. I do think there's a chance we can win the Big 12. I genuinely believe that because I think the Big 12's kind of open. I think Utah's the popular pick, but I think we could win it. We just have to, beat Utah. But as far as winning the national championship, I would not bet on that with this O-line and this D-line. I mean, we have great corners, except Shiloh Sanders. He pissed me off with absolutely stupid stuff. His flags, what is he doing? Deion, chew his ass out. I could not believe that. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, just look up Shiloh Sanders flags. It was stupid. He was just blindside hitting guys after the play was over. He wasn't even on that guy. Just dumb stuff. Anyways, what I'm very excited about for Colorado is they keep giving us night games, which makes me so happy because I prefer that when it comes to watching my team because I got my college team here where I go and we play at noon. So it's better to have like Colorado than I can actually watch the game instead of like checking my phone. So it's a lot better. So 7:30 the next 2 nights. Hopefully we continue to have 7:30 slots. But we play Nebraska next week. We're going to talk about that in a bit. And then after that, we have Colorado State. Nebraska I was not concerned about at all. And then Dylan Raiola, for those of you who don't know, he's the guy who went viral for like changing his hair to look like Mahomes, walking like Mahomes, talking like Mahomes, throwing motion like Mahomes. I'm assuming he's searching for a blonde girl to date. If he was anything other than a football player, this would be classified as stalking. But because he's a college athlete, it's quirky and fun. And even Mahomes was like, hey, good job, that's my cousin, like as a joke. Which on the one hand, I do think it's quirky and fun. But there is a part of me that's like, this is still weird behavior. Like, this is weird. This is very odd behavior. It's not like he's just like, yeah, I'm practicing like Mahomes or I'm eating like Mahomes. No. He cut his hair and he talks and walks like, it's just kind of odd behavior. But I get it's kind of fun. But on the other hand, it's also just kind of weird because like then if he is really good, then it's like, what does that say? And then he'll always just kind of be known as the guy who copied Mahomes. Like he's never really gonna have his own identity. I don't know. I just think it's weird. Anyways, so we play at Nebraska, and a game I was not concerned about at all. But then Dylan Raiola played really well last week. So maybe the Mahomes thing works? I don't know, but he played really well, so now I'm concerned. I do think we can still win this game, but, Nebraska looked good last week, so that's concerning. Colorado State we should beat. It should not be as close as it was last year, but, it is a rivalry game, so you never know what can happen. Then after that, we play Baylor, UCF, and Kansas State. Kansas State's currently nationally ranked. Like, this schedule is really no let-ups. Like, no let-ups. Because our unranked opponents are Texas Tech, just, Texas teams are always tough. Cincinnati, nowhere near as good as they were a couple years ago. That program obviously is trying to find, get back to where they were with Fick, but, Cincinnati, obviously not a slouch team. And then UCF, that's our other, like, unranked opponent out of well, I guess Baylor's unranked too, so I take that back. But saying none of these schools, it's not like we're playing Akron. Like, we're not doing what Ohio State does, where it's like we just play, lower. These are all schools in, like, big conferences. These are all Big 12 schools or, I don't know. That's kind of my thing. Is the only time we played a small school, we played North Dakota State, which is like the top of the line FCS school. I think there's an argument they could probably compete with a Sun Belt or with a CUSA team because North Dakota State is like top of the line FCS. So I don't know. It's like probably our worst opponent on our schedule is Colorado State, and then that's a rivalry game. So it's just like, damn. I don't know. We got a tough ass schedule, and I hope we can take advantage and make the playoffs. That's my goal. But we'll be covering it every week. Other thing I want to talk about. So I heard about this Cam Ward guy. Apparently he's good friends with Shador. He transferred to Miami University, and he looked awesome. I watched that Miami-Florida game. Miami looks like it's probably the best team in the ACC. I don't really think there's another good team in the ACC. So maybe we just pencil in Miami to be the one to win that conference because they looked awesome. That offense looked incredible. And Cam Ward looked really good, like Heisman candidate good. So just watch out for Miami. They looked really nice. Okay, let's flip it over to the NFL. So, quick thing, I actually don't think Bryce Young can technically win Comeback Player of the Year. I realized this because he wasn't injured. I forgot it. I just thought it was kind of like you came back from a hardship. I'm pretty sure it has to. I don't think a hardship can be your team was ass. I don't think he can. I don't think he can get it for that. So I just wanted to say, I'm not going to go back and be like, oh, it's Kirk Cousins because it's the Comeback Player of the Year award. I made a pick. I didn't really think about what I just was getting excited to pick the Panthers to win the division, for being honest. So, if you tried to bet Bryce Young Comeback Player of the Year and there were no odds and you were like, oh, Ryan Klinger screwed me. I did say in the description of episode 99, never take my, please do not. I don't think I said please. I don't think I said never. I said please. Oh, I said please, yeah. Please never use my predictions as gambling advice. I said that in episode 99 in the description. So that stands by. I would not. Like my primetime picks, I would not take them as gambling advice. I just wouldn't. All right, let's get into the marquee matchup. So for those of you who don't know, marquee matchup is a segment I like to run every week where I talk about the best games that'll be at 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. this week, because obviously you have a multitude of games every NFL week that plays, multitude of games that play at 1 and a couple at 4. And so what games are the most interesting out of those? Which ones are you sitting on the couch? Your team isn't on. They get a Sunday night. Your team, you're a big Chiefs fan, right? And they play Thursday night. What are you going to watch 1 to 4? You could just not watch any football, but no. Why would you? No. for what it's worth, I agree. You might as well watch something. So I of course will be watching probably a marquee matchup game while having the Panthers on. The Panthers, unless we're, as much as I believe we can be good this year, until we prove it to me, we're definitely a dual watch team. Like, you got to have another game on. So if stuff's getting rough in the Panthers game, then you just kind of veer over and look at the other game. All right, marquee matchups for this week. We got 2 at 1 o'clock. So, because there's more games at 1 than there are 4, so that's why we picked 2. So, 1 p.m., we got Texans at Colts. Probably the 2 best teams in the AFC South. Some people are higher on the Jaguars than I am, but I think these are the 2 best teams. Anthony Richardson coming back from injury. Maybe he tries to make a statement. This Texans team has a lot of hype. So if the Texans win, I think that's what everybody's expecting, whereas the Colts win, it'll be interesting to see how the narratives form. It's like, is Anthony Richardson not going to make this division as easy for C.J. Stroud and the Texans? That could be a fun narrative. So I think just watch that. That could be really fun. So that's my first marquee matchup. Second game at 1 o'clock, we got Cardinals at Bills. This one's really fun to me. You got a team that last year wasn't very good, but has a lot of hype going into this season because this is the first ever Marvin Harrison Jr. game. I get to see what this offense looks like. The Cardinals defense is not very good, which I think will be fun to watch Josh Allen kind of carve that up, see what Josh Allen can do with this revamped Bills offense. So I think it's basically you're watching this game because you're curious to see how these 2 offenses are going to clash, and maybe the Bills defense is going to be underrated this year. Let's see how the Bills defense looks. 4 p.m., I'm 95% sure this will be the game of the week for the 4 p.m. slot, and that's Cowboys at Browns. This will be Brady's first game announcing for Fox, so that's fun. And then this will be an interesting game just because the Browns are an intriguing team this year where there's an argument they could be a top 5 team in the league. Honestly, I do think this roster is really strong, but I just don't see it because I have zero faith in Deshaun Watson, and I also don't like him. So that'll be intriguing against a Cowboys team that I don't think anybody other than Cowboys fans are high on. So it's just kind of 2 teams that have a lot of talent, but they're just kind of weird going at it. And so that'll be interesting. And Brady's there to call it. So that'll be a fun game. So those are the marquee matchups for this week. And then let's flip over to primetime picks. We have a Friday Night Lights game this week because Packers versus Eagles being in Brazil, and it's a night game. So we have a Friday Night Lights during the high school football season. I think it's a bit of an odd choice. I don't know. When was the last time they did like a Friday night football game for the NFL during high school football season? Such an odd choice, but whatever. Thursday night football, opening game of the season. We have Chiefs versus Ravens. I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the Chiefs start off this year with a win. They started off last year with a loss. I predicted them losing to the Lions last year in the first game of first game of the season. I predicted that correctly. Let's see if I can get 2 in a row here. I do think the Chiefs beat the Ravens in this first week. Defending champions start off 1-0. Friday Night Lights game, Packers versus Eagles. It's always so weird when we do these overseas games. You never know. I feel like things are always just odd. But I'm going to go with the Packers here, and I think either way, this is an ESPN get-up show in the morning. Like Saturday morning, they're going to be it's either going to be, can the Eagles put it together? They did not look good last night. Are the Eagles going to have a rough season? Or if the Packers lose, it's going to be, did we overhype the Packers? Are we sure? Either way, this is going to be a prime ESPN morning show overreaction game. So if you're into that, make sure you tune in for this one. But I think the Packers will beat the Eagles. So the Eagles will be the headlining. It'll be that little graphic on the bottom in like a weird, like scratchy looking script that's like trouble in Philly, even though it's been one game. That'll be. I'll have to do my week 1 overreactions. We'll do that segment next week. That's always a fun segment, is the week 1 overreactions, because there's always a lot. I do it too. We all do it. Where it's like, like if let's say the Cardinals just like decimate the Bills. It's like Cardinals might win the NFC West. Marvin Harrison Jr. Rookie of the Year, Kyler Murray MVP season. Like that's genuinely how week 1 goes. So I always think it's funny. And then it's also fun to look back at the end of the year at the week 1 overreactions and be like, oh, this was true. This was insane. How did we ever believe this? That's always fun. Sunday night football, we have Lions versus Rams. I think they actually gave us a really good schedule. for Thursday night, Sunday night, and Monday night. And so I'm just saying, props to the NFL. This is a good opening week night games. Like, just saying. I guess the Friday night games is good too, like Packers Eagles. These are all really good games, so props to them. Anyway, Sunday Night Football, Lions versus Rams. This is in Detroit. Detroit is not losing first game of the season, so Detroit beats the Rams. I know I'm very high on this Rams team, but this Lions team, I would love to see them win the Super Bowl. If you had to say who do you want to see win the Super Bowl the most this year, other than my Panthers, it's the Lions. I mean, I didn't predict it, partially just because I'm a little worried if I have if the Klinger curse is really that good, I don't want it to touch the Lions when it comes to their Super Bowl expectations. But as far as their opening game, I could take them to beat the Rams. So they're going to win Sunday Night Football. Lions get the big win. Lions are like America's team. Everybody will love this. So Lions start off the year 1-0. Monday Night Football, Jets-Niners. I think the Jets get this. The Jets, last Monday night, last year they opened for the first game Monday Night Football also. That was the walk-off return touchdown, the game where Aaron Rodgers only played 4 downs. This year they're returning to Monday Night Football. Hopefully things turn out better from them as far as injuries, but hopefully it's the same result for them, which is a win. So that was a really odd way to phrase that, I realize. But anyways, I'm taking the Jets to beat the Niners. That's what I'm saying. The Jets will beat the Niners, and that'll be exciting to see how New York reacts to all this. But anyways, I'm really happy we're done with double Monday Night Football games. That was dumb because why were they running at the same time? If we were going to do 2 Monday Night Football games at once, let's do one at 7 and then one at 8 or one at 7 and one at 9, something like that. Why are we running 2 games at the same time? This is stupid, so I'm glad we're done away with that. Those aren't happening anymore. Thank the Lord. There's a report the NFL wants to start on Labor Day weekend, and they would do a Thursday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and Monday Night Football games. Take advantage of the long weekend, so basically every night but Friday. I would love that. That would be perfect for if they switch to a 20-week schedule with 2 byes, and then the Super Bowl. I think that would line up correct, where the Super Bowl would be the day before President's Day. If it's a week earlier, then put in the Pro Bowl as an all-star break and make that second bye week everyone is off, and then you have an all-star break. That would be cool. And what would be even cooler is if it was like that, then your fantasy football team, there could be a setting in fantasy football leagues where if your guy's in the Pro Bowl, you get an extra 5 points on next week or something like that. Or you just play, right? Where, maybe only 3 of your guys are in the Pro Bowl, but they score for you, however they do in the Pro Bowl. And then the other guys, that would be really fun. I mean, you could turn it off. Some guys have very serious leagues with very serious buy-ins. I get it. But that would be cool to have a setting. That'd be fun. Okay, those are my thoughts. Very excited for the NFL season. I put Bryce Young as a thumbnail for this episode, so good luck, Bryce. Hope we get a big win against the Saints this week, and can't wait to see you all next week for Week 1 overreactions. We'll do marquee matchups again. We'll do primetime picks again, and that should be it from me. See you all in the next one. Thank you for listening. I'm out.